For the first time in English football history, for the upcoming season, the 20 Premier League clubs will have the opportunity to make 5 substitutions in any given league match. There's benefits and drawbacks to that rule change, which won't be elaborated on here, but there may also be an opportunity. Here's why. Firstly, for the last few seasons, Arteta's Arsenal have been attempting to play further and further up the pitch while in possession, as seen below. Field tilt is a measure of final third possession. In general, the further up the pitch you play, the higher your field tilt. Simple. Secondly, when out of possession, we're committing more defensive actions in the final third, attempting to win the ball higher up the pitch and stop teams transitioning on us. Year on year, Arteta is turning up the dial on Arsenal's press. 1,289 final third defensive actions in 2021 turned to 1,464 in 21-22. I expect this stat to increase and Arsenal's PPDA, passes an opponent makes per defensive action, to decrease significantly next season. In December, we were mixing with the relegation fodder, and as you can see, the good teams tend to press more. If you're looking to press further and further up the pitch, there may be an opportunity here, facilitated by the new 5 subs rule. Lack of quality options in depth this season meant that it wasn't worth asking a Bukayo Saka or Gabriel Martinelli to press too hard in case of injury or fatigue. Next season, with greater depth, a Saka or a Martinelli might be able to press high for 60 minutes, have an early shower, and be ready for midweek. In previous seasons, Arsenal have signed more front-footed players who can facilitate ball progression from the first and second third, in Aaron Ramsdale, Benjamin White, Thomas Partey, and more, to provide a platform for these intended shifts. However, there's no point having great ball progressors if you don't have anyone who can receive it in high-quality positions further forward, turn, and go. And there's no way you're staying there when you lose it if you don't have the personnel who can carry out the defensive actions to stop the transition. So for a team whose clear intent is to play further up the pitch, get the ball forward to quality receivers and press more, who is the ideal candidate for that vacant centre-forward position?
And when we need players that runners, and we need players like help a lot in our high intensity and high pressing, he's the best in the world.
Sounds good to me. 25-year-old, 4-time Premier League winning forward Gabriel Jesus has joined Arsenal Football Club, putting pen to paper on a 5-year deal. Jesus has chosen Arsenal over 5 other clubs and will spend at least some of his peak years at Arsenal under Mikel Arteta. In my view, we should be very, very excited.
But he can play in the 3 positions up front.
If you want to be a top club, you better start acting like one. Just like Liverpool and Manchester City, Arsenal want a stable of top-class, versatile forwards, all capable of playing in at least one other position. And it's there that we'll start to unpack the brilliance of Gabriel Jesus. He really can play anywhere. In-game, he swaps zones with ease, able to operate centrally and out wide with comparable quality. At Palmeiras in his debut season, he played the majority of minutes off the left, before shifting further forward in 2015-16, getting 21 goals and assists and winning the Brazilian Serie A, all while playing centre forward at just 18 years old. Real Madrid, Bayern, Barcelona, Manchester United and more were after his signature. Madrid were especially keen, having missed out on Neymar, but he chose City, and more importantly, Pep Guardiola. The Firmino role has become synonymous with a centre-forward who can drift around, facilitate others, and drop into the midfield to receive balls. In 2020, StatsBomb had Jesus as the closest stylistic analogue to Roberto Firmino under 23 years old, and Jesus was preferred to Firmino at the 2018 World Cup to play that false 9 role, facilitating Neymar. In terms of the quality of movement and technique to receive the ball in good areas and link play, Jesus has it all. Right, left, and centrally. All 3 of these situations I'm about to show you led to a goal. Here, Jesus receives the ball with his back to goal centrally. He delays his pass and knocks it round the corner to Sterling. The ball eventually breaks to Ferran Torres, who slots it away. This time, Jesus receives the ball on the wide left from a lofted ball after some smart movement. He beats his man with ease, gets to the byline, then cuts it back to Sterling for a simple finish. Here he receives it wide right, runs with it, then delivers a great ball for an outrageous Bernardo Silva finish. Clearly that's just 3 cherry-picked examples of him receiving the ball in different areas, but watch him in a game and you'll see the excellent positions he picks up to receive it, how well he receives, and how dangerous he can be as a facilitator. And the stats don't lie. His creative, passing, receiving, and carrying scores are all at an elite level. So Jesus is a facilitative forward who is more than capable of being a link man in any area of the pitch. His technique is excellent, opening his body well and using both feet to find inventive passing channels. The biggest compliment he can get is by watching the players around him. See how and where they move, expecting Jesus to find them. It's not secondary movement around a typical 9 in our heads. They know he can create. He can also use his terrific pace and movement to create, as seen here. Kyle Walker receives the ball and Jesus is already on his toes to exploit the space he spotted, telling Walker where to put the ball. Compare Jesus' position now to the next slide. There he is, in behind to provide a simple pass across the box for Sterling to score. But Jesus can not only create and get Arsenal through to the final third, he can also keep them there. Let's look at his famous pressing. Jesus makes 0.6 tackles per 90 in the final third, which is in the 94th percentile when compared to other forwards in the top 5 leagues. When you consider he plays for Manchester City, who had on average 68% of the ball in the Premier League last season, that is seriously impressive. He's in the 99th percentile for defensive goal creating actions, i.e. tackles or interceptions that led to a goal, and the 95th percentile for passes blocked. But it's not only the volume of the press, it's the intelligence with which he does it. He's quick and aggressive, thinks fast, and acts decisively. This can be seen clearly in Manchester City's match against Real Madrid in the round of 16 in the 2019-2020 UEFA Champions League. Notice his body shape. It's aggressive and he's front-footed, timing it to press Varane on his weaker foot once isolated. He knows Varane's passing lanes are blocked by his teammates, so moves in quickly. He wins the ball and it's a simple tap-in for Sterling. Yet again. Jesus isolates Varane again, and instead of getting close, he instead gambles on the back pass, as you should against players who are more dominant than you aerially. Jesus' gamble pays off, the ball's in the back of the net, and City are into the Champions League quarter-final. Having a player in your forward line who is so adept at pressing just casts that doubt in the opponent's mind. That extra second the defender might spend dawdling on the ball makes all the difference. The examples shown have obvious positive outcomes for illustrative purposes, but the real tell is the amount of difficult decisions and zones he forces defenders into over a 90-minute match. But when attempting to defend high, Jesus' pressing prowess is not only useful in one direction. When defending, you want to create as little space as possible in high-value zones for your opponent to work in. And you can squeeze that space not only with a high defensive line, but also with your forwards coming back from the forward line. Jesus is excellent at this. I lost track of how many clips I saw of Jesus coming back from the forward line, nicking a ball off a midfielder or a defender, turning around and pressing forward. Here, Thiago Silva gets caught dawdling on the ball. Jesus presses from behind and wins it off him. He quickly distributes to Foden, who gives it to Grealish, who should score. It's a really high XG chance, all thanks to Jesus' pressing from behind. Same game, similar situation. Jesus loses it to Kovacic after a City attack. Jesus chases Kovacic down and wins the ball back. He pops it around the corner for Foden, then runs in behind to try and finish it off. Winning the ball quickly, efficiently, and with a real intent to play forward is a true asset. When you regain the ball, you have a very small window before the opponent returns to their defensive shape, so you have to act quickly and try to find ways to bypass as many men as possible in as short a time as possible. Taking it off their centre-back or central midfielder is certainly a way to do that. Anyway, whatever, right? He's a centre-forward, he's a number 9, does he score goals? Let's address that elephant in the room, Jesus' goal tally or perceived lack of goals and finishing ability. Many rival fans and online publications have taken great pains to point out that Jesus has never scored more than 14 goals in a Premier League campaign. This is absolutely true, with his best goal-scoring campaign coming in 2019-2020. But let's not forget, we're talking about a man who has the 7th best minutes-to-goal involvement ratio in Premier League history. Look at the names he's there with. Jesus has played a total of 9,304 minutes in his entire Premier League career. For context, Harry Kane is 3 years older and in just 2 more seasons as a recognised first-team player than Jesus, has played 23,408 minutes. Until this season, Jesus was playing second fiddle to arguably the greatest striker of the modern Premier League era in Sergio Aguero, and Jesus is still Man City's 3rd top scorer of all time. So there really is a context here of just how bad his output is, considering how many actual minutes he spent on the pitch. In fact, only 5 out of Gabriel Jesus' 58 Premier League goals have been scored as a substitute. When Jesus starts for Man City, he gets an average of 1 goal every 2 games, the hallmark of a top Premier League striker, and on par with the likes of Robin van Persie and Alan Shearer. However, when you look at the numbers, it becomes clear that Jesus is significantly underperforming his XG, running at roughly 25% less than the goals he would be expected to score fairly consistently for the last 6 years. In terms of his underperformance, he's in company there with Dwight Gale, Nathan Redmond, and Aleksandar Mitrovic. Not great. So what's that about? Well, it's probably a few things. Firstly, when you're in and out of the team, playing with different players around you, you might struggle to get a rhythm and build up an understanding with your teammates. But the top players find a way to score anyway, so that caveat doesn't really wash for me. From the games I've seen, I don't think his ball striking is particularly good. He's much more adept at the final ball or the kind of right place, right time finish, rather than a player who'll shoot from distance or create a moment of separation and rifle it in the top corner from 25 yards. Look at his shot map here. the yellow circles indicating goals, and the size of the circle indicating the quality of the chance. As you can see, he's really a penalty box striker, scoring most of his goals from the centre of the box, as would be expected. It's not a question of accuracy. Jesus is actually a very accurate shooter. The average forward puts 30 to 40% of their shots on target, according to Scott Willis of Crab Stats. Of his medium quality chances, Jesus puts 61% on target. Of his high quality chances, Jesus puts 79% on target. The bottom line is, he just doesn't finish enough of the chances he gets. In a way, it's exciting. He's getting and missing a lot of his chances, and he's still profiling among the elite. If the coaching team can work on it and his finishing improves, we could have a 25-goal a season striker on our hands considering the volume he gets. It is a concern, but having goals all over the pitch is the real priority. One to watch. Another criticism that could be levelled at Jesus is his physicality. At 5'9", he is one of the smaller 9s in the Premier League. I was an advocate before the window of signing a tall forward, be that at centre forward or someone who plays out in the wings. But I'm starting to change that thought process. You don't get large spaces to work in at the top level in the Premier League anymore. Teams are far too compact, well-drilled and smart to leave huge gaps to lump it up to the big man to win the second balls as any kind of long-term strategy. If Arsenal want to play higher up the pitch, they'll need technical quality there to keep it. The best way to ensure a team don't beat you is to keep the ball. So the priority should always be technique over physicality. But when you don't prioritise physicality, you risk losing the duels in the air and on the ground. So then you have to be smart. And in the box, Jesus is whip smart. Watching him has allayed my concerns about aerial presence up front. It's all about movement and creating separation. Up against 6'1" Sergio Ramos no less, Jesus wins the aerial battle. He gets tight, then as the ball is floated in, he steps away for a moment of separation with a subtle push you can see here in the small of Ramos's back. Here, as the ball is about to be whipped in, Jesus is marked by the defender. Jesus spots David Silva's run, so slips back to split the defender's attention. It's really subtle. He creates himself the space to attack the ball, so he can get the angle going back to go forward. The other centre-back can't get across in time, and it's an easy finish for Jesus. His box movement is subtle but controlled. He reminds me a little bit of Diogo Jota in terms of his springiness and how he gets across the box to get in the right space at the right time. Considering the potential balls into the box from the likes of Ødegaard, Tielemans and Vieira from the half spaces, Jesus' movement could unlock a whole new dynamic to our team. I also want to note the calibre of the opposition from the moments I'm highlighting. Chelsea, Real Madrid and top-level Premier League opposition, save Norwich. The suggestions that Jesus can't do it on the big occasions is simply untrue. 2 decisive goals in a Champions League tie against Real Madrid, the goal to make them the Centurions, and he's even scored 5 goals in 12 appearances against Liverpool, the closest team in quality to Man City, all while not necessarily starting every game.
One of the reasons why is I am a manager in the best moments in my career that people can say that they win the titles, but the best moments as a manager is when you can work with the people, persons, humans like Gabriel. He's never complained, he played 5 minutes, he played the best 5 minutes he can do. Never bad face and respect his mates, they make decisions. Play right is happy, play center is happy, play left is happy.
In 2014, Gabriel Jesus was painting murals on the streets of Sao Paulo to celebrate Brazil hosting the World Cup. By 2018, he was leading his country to the finals with the named number 9 shirt on his back, previously worn by Ronaldo Nazario and Tostão, part of the 1970 team with Pelé and Jairzinho. His rise was meteoric, but Brazil's underperformance in 2018 was not taken lightly in his home country. He's been in and out of the squad, and he reportedly considered quitting the Seleção over criticism of his performances. At Manchester City, he's never quite been seen as indispensable. His versatility can offer so much, but it does mean he's sometimes overlooked. He's averaged 26.5 appearances, not starts, since his arrival in the Premier League. Not quite undroppable. For a man who was tipped for the very top, his recent times speak of unfinished business. For Arsenal, a club who can't pay for an Erling Haaland or Kylian Mbappe, there is a value in going after players who undoubtedly have the talent, but whose reputation has been dented after a strong start to their career. Martin Ødegaard springs to mind. If you can reignite whatever it was that excited fans and clubs at the start of their career and maximise their potential, you could have a real player on your hands for a fraction of the price. As Arsene Wenger once said, "We don't sign superstars, we make them." Pep Guardiola can't speak highly enough of him as a person. After his magnificent performances scoring 4 goals against Watford earlier on in the season, Guardiola said that he was sure not a single person at the club wasn't happy for him. At Arsenal, he'll find open arms with Mikel Arteta, a growing contingent of Portuguese-speaking players, and Edu, his countryman. Arteta's reported desire to bring him in as a top target tells you how highly they rate him. Brazilian football expert Tim Stillman said the Brazilian players tend to form a tight bunch, eating and socialising together. It used to be that the Brazilians in London would convene at David Luiz's house. I wonder who it will be now. Perhaps Gabriel at Arsenal. No, the other one. There's a small concern perhaps over his temperament. Tim also said that in his early years he was feisty on the pitch, something you so rarely see at Man City when they're beating teams 4 or 5-0 every week. It's one to watch again, but perhaps maturity and recently becoming a father may quell those doubts. He speaks fluent English and his injury record is great too, only 2 significant injuries in the 16-17 and 17-18 seasons. I look forward to him doing his ACL minute 6 at Selhurst Park. Though I do think the fee is a touch high, it's hard to negotiate with a club who just don't need the money. So credit to Edu and Arteta for getting this deal done. With no adjustment to the league needed, and a relatively similar playing style to Manchester City, he really could hit the ground running. There's work to be done, and a lot to prove. But at 25, there's so much still to come. And just one more thing. Is your centre forward a 4-time Premier League winner? Or just an Audi Cup winner? Thought so. Thank you so much for watching The Different Knock. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please consider supporting us on Patreon monthly or head to buymeacoffee.com for one-time support. You can find me at AMOnFootball on Twitter and we're at DiffKnock on all social media. Also, check out our podcast. All the links are in the video description. Thanks!